Today we're going to be looking at what is in the new combat test in Minecraft. This video is going to explain what the combat test is, the new additions, and changes to the combat system. If you enjoy this video, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to see when new videos come out. So what the combat tests are several snapshots in development for the Java edition of Minecraft for the combat system. These snapshots can be found on Reddit and they aren't available on the Java installer. These snapshots have been released during 1.14, 1.15, and the 1.16, with the first one back in June 26th of 2019. This is a bit different than a normal game update. This video is going to explain the combat test up until combat test 8C. The idea of this video is going to give you an idea of the combat test and some of the changes that might be implemented. Let's go through the combat test. A new attribute added is called the attack reach. This attribute is the amount of blocks that a player can be away from a mob to attack it. The default reach is 2.5 with a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 6. The attack reach has been added to swords, hoes, and the trident. Let's look at the changes and additions to shields. Shields now have a shield indicator similar to the attack indicator. The shield will be active automatically when crouching, but this only works when in the offhand. Shields can only block up to 6 attack damage now. Before, there was a warm-up delay of 0.25 seconds for a shield. This has been removed. Crouching players holding shields also cannot perform charged attacks. Also, the shield can only block 50% of knockback, and having an empty hand or non-tool item on the other hand will negate all knockback. Before, the shield had an arc of protection of 180 degrees, so anywhere in front of you. This is changed to 100 degrees, meaning you will be protected from the front, but not from the sides. Explosive damage is now blocked by a shield if it isn't player caused. The attack speed of the axe has been increased, meaning it takes 0.5 seconds between attacks. Before, it was a range of 1 second to 1.25 seconds depending on the type of axe. Axes do less base damage, still doing 1 more than the sword of the same type. An example is that netherite axes do 8 damage instead of 10. Axes now disable shields for 1.6 seconds. Before, there was a 25% chance of disabling the shield for 5 seconds. The axe will now use 1 durability when attacking instead of 2 like before. The sharpness, smite, and bane of arthropods enchantments you can only get on an axe by having a book of that enchantment and using it in an anvil. This means you can't get these enchantments through the enchanting table. The attack reach of the axe is 2.5, before it was 3. You can also put the sweeping edge enchantment onto an axe, before you could only put it onto a sword. Also, the sweeping edge enchantment is different now, and the amount of damage you do is decreased, and the sweeping attack can only be performed if you have the sweeping edge enchantment on a weapon. Also, there is a new enchantment for the axe called cleaving. This enchantment increases the damage and length the shield is disabled, so the maximum level is 3. It is incompatible with sharpness, smite, and bane of arthropods. Cleaving can be put on an axe in the enchanting table. The amount of damage it does is 1 plus 1 times the enchantment level. At level 3, cleaving does 4 damage. The cleaving enchantment can stun the shield for 0.5 seconds per a level of the enchantment. At level 3, it is about 1.5 seconds. The sword's attack speed has been increased to 0.33 seconds from 0.625 seconds. There is a decrease in the damage the sword does. Stone does 4 damage, iron is 5, diamond is 6, and netherite is 7 instead of 8. Also, the reach of a sword is 3. The trident attack speed is 0.5 seconds instead of 0.91 seconds, and the melee damage is 7 down from 9. The attack reach of a trident is 3.5 above the previous 3. Tridents can now be shot from dispensers. If a trident has loyalty enchantment on it and it is thrown into the void, it will now return to the player. There's also been a change to the impaling enchantment. It now does damage to all mobs or players that are in water or rain. Unlike before, it only did damage to aquatic mobs. The change to loyalty and impaling are both things from the Bedrock edition. The hose attack speed has been increased. The wooden hose attack speed is 0.5 seconds, 0.29 for golden, stone is 0.4, and diamond and netherite is 0.29 seconds. The range before was 1 second at wooden and 0.25 seconds at diamond and netherite. The hoe attack damage is 2 for wood and gold and stone instead of 1, iron and diamond is 3 instead of 1, and last netherite hoes do 4 damage instead of 1. The hoe also has an attack reach of 3.5 instead of 3. Pickaxes now have an attack speed of 0.4 seconds instead of 1.2 seconds. The attack damage is increased for wooden and gold to 3, and the attack reach of a pickaxe is 2.5. The shovel's attack speed has increased to 0.5 seconds from 1. There's a decrease in the amount of damage a shovel can do. Wooden, gold, and stone do 2 damage, iron does 3 damage, and diamond does 4 damage, and last is netherite, it does 5 damage. The attack reach for a shovel is 2.5. Hunger has also been tweaked a bit. High saturation no longer gives a fast regeneration boost. Saturation is not used when healing damage. It is only relevant as a pause until food drains, similar to before 1.9. Players now regenerate health down until a hunger level of 6 instead of the previous 18. So you can keep regenerating your health even if your hunger is only at 6. Players will now heal every 2 seconds instead of 4 seconds. Healing also drains food points half as fast as before. The sweeping attack can now only be performed by the sweeping edge enchantment. The sweeping edge enchantment can now be put on axes and swords, and the amount of damage you can do with the sweeping edge has been reduced. The sweep attack is an attack that does splash damage to the mobs around the one you are targeting. Before, sweeping edge at level 1 did 50% damage, level 2 was 60%, and level 3 is 75%. Now at level 1 it is 25%, level 2 is 33%, and level 3 is 37.5%. Bows, if they are drawn for longer than 3 seconds, they no longer deliver critical arrows and are less accurate. Arrows now are more accurate in general. Instantaneous effects on tipped arrows are now scaled by 1/8. Eggs can have a cooldown of 0.2 seconds. Snowballs can now stack at 64 instead of 16 and have a cooldown of 0.2 seconds. The multi-shot enchantment can now do damage with all 3 arrows to a mob. Before, only 1 arrow could hit a mob. If you miss with an attack, the cooldown is now 4 ticks, about 0.2 seconds. Attacking with a weapon is also not possible until the weapon is recharged. There is a longer charge attack that gives a bonus reach of 1.25 blocks. Weapons with shorter cooldowns will give the target less time until they can be attacked. The attack can now be held down to automatically attack at the next possible time. However, there is a 1-tick penalty, making this less effective than clicking at the right time. The attack timer is now not affected by switching items. It only resets when the player is ready to attack. Entities can now be hit through transparent blocks like grass or vines without destroying the block. Critical hits can now be performed by sprinting players. Damage from bare fist has been increased to 2 instead of 1. The healing status effect heals 6 health per a level, which is more than 4 before. Also, the strength status effect has been decreased. Now it does 20% increase in total damage at level 1 and 40% at level 2. And the last change is now the critical hit is now calculated with enchantments and potion effects included. So how the critical hit works is that it does 150% of base damage, so if you calculate things like enchantments and potion effects, the critical hit can do a lot more damage now.